Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. My friends, hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Today we're talking about the pass rushers for the New York Giants, and really something interesting because General Manager Dave Gettleman said in the new Giants Life episode that they were really looking to bolster the secondary, give Daniel Jones a couple weapons, and find another pass rusher for Patrick Graham. This defense ranked top 10 in the league in points allowed per game last year. The secondary had some issues, but overall, held their ground, and the run stopping game was also pretty adequate. So they still were like, let's make this unit the best in the league. Let's go out and make this defense top 3, maybe even arguably the best defense in the league if they do reach their potential. And they went out and got Aaron Robinson. They went out and got Adoree Jackson for the secondary. And they got Azeez Ojulari. And they really turned over this outside linebacker core because they have a couple guys coming back too. And I want to talk about, what should we expect from this outside linebacker unit? How are they going to play in cohesion with the interior guys like Dexter Lawrence, Danny Shelton, and Leonard Williams? And, what does Azeez Ojulari bring to this team? Anthony did a breakdown, so he has a pretty good idea of his strengths and weaknesses. And I want to run this through with you guys because I think it's important for us to take a look at how this defense is going to change, how the pass rushers are going to spark that change, are going to be the catalyst behind the upgrading of this unit, the production and efficiency of this unit. And I'm super excited for this season for those reasons exactly, Anthony. So before we dive into the pass rushers and what we should expect from them moving forward, how is your weekend going?
Weekend's going good. Very hot outside. Did spend some time by the pool, enjoying that. It's summertime down here in hot and humid Florida, so trying to make the most of that. But in terms of the Giants, in terms of their defense and their pass rush, this was a team that surprised last year with its defense. Going into last season, if you really think back to the offseason, we all thought that the offense was going to be the strength, and we thought that the defense was going to be a disaster because we had question marks all over the place, and we had guys with potential who could break out, but we didn't know if they would. Eventually, pretty much all of them did break out, and the defense was significantly better than the offense because the guys that we were pretty certain were going to break out there did not, and on defense they did. So that was really exciting. The Giants had a pretty decent pass rush last year, but it was very much pass rush by committee and pass rush by scheme. It wasn't really individual players having phenomenal pass rushing performances. It was Patrick Graham coming up with creative blitz schemes to try and get some edge rush or some interior pass rush as well. It was really formulated through the scheme and through a committee. The Giants really needed an every down pass rusher, and I feel, as Alex just mentioned, I did break down Azeez Ojulari pre-draft. I feel like they did find their every down pass rusher in the draft this year. I think he's going to have a huge impact on this defense, a huge impact on the Giants pass rush, and I do think you see the Giants maybe even total 45, 50 sacks as a team this season. I think that they can have a really good pass rush, and I do expect them to have one of the best defenses in the NFL in 2021.
Yeah, come on. If we have a defense that good, and our offense takes the step forward that we hope they do with the new weapons of Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, etc., this defense is going to be the portion of the team that puts their foot down, grinds, keeps the offense on the field. The problem was the defense really helped out the offense tremendously last year. Imagine if our defense was as bad as we thought it was going to be without Patrick Graham, without James Bradbury, some of these big free agent signings. Imagine it was as bad as we had imagined it could be compared to the offense, and how awful that team would have been, how awful the Giants would have been. That defense really was the saving grace of our season. And it kept the offense on the field. The problem was offense couldn't do anything with the ball in their hands. They really couldn't push they couldn't push the ball downfield. They couldn't attack downfield routes. They couldn't capitalize in the red zone. Daniel Jones was running all over the place. He was just all over the place. The guy his mental processing at times was off. His awareness in the pocket, obviously. These are major issues that still have not been corrected for the most part. They've gotten better, but I'm not going to sit here and act like they are justifiably quality now. They're not quality. There's still things that he has to iron out. He has to prove to us that he's not going to fumble twice a game. He's not going to throw interceptions on terrible throws and miss progressions, misreads with open receivers. We still need to see this. I'm still optimistic in Daniel Jones, but let's not act like he's a great quarterback just yet. But again, optimistic. Let's see it on the field. Let's see him produce. With the ball in the offense's hands, with these new weapons, it's going to make the defense look a lot better. for two reasons. One of them, when the defense actually turns the ball over and gives the offense more opportunities, it's going to make them look better. And the second thing is the defense was on the field so much because the Giants offense couldn't stay on the field. So many 3-and-outs. They were exhausted. By the time the end of the game came around, they were burnt out. We were giving up drives in the fourth quarter, touchdowns and points in the fourth quarter. We lost like 3 or 4 games in the middle of the year by like 5 or less points, like single-digit losses. And I think now when you have an offense who will keep the ball, time of possession is very important, not let your defense get gassed, it's going to help tremendously in that fourth quarter when it comes to grind time, and you need your guys to step up and make a play. You need your guys to step up and have that wind in their lungs to really go out and remain adequate and effective. So that's a major portion that, just the chemistry between those two units. But the pass rush plays a massive part in that. Last year, we had a lot of coverage sacks because our secondary held up for the most part. Aside from that CB2 spot, our secondary played well, despite those issues, and it really affected our pass rush unit positively. And even though we had Carter Coughlin, a 7th-round pick, we had Jabal Shared, a practice squad guy off the Jacksonville Jaguars, we were still putting pressure on quarterbacks, mainly because of Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. That's why the Giants were essentially like, if we let Leonard Williams go and we don't do anything in the pass rush category, we're in big trouble. Luckily, they retained him for 3 more years. They drafted Azeez Ojulari. They got Ifeadi Odenigbo. They got Ryan Anderson from Washington. They added a couple really adequate pieces there. And I think Azeez Ojulari is the impact player day one. The guy he ranked first in the SEC in sacks with 9.5. He ranked first in the SEC in forced fumbles with 4. He has a knack for not only getting to the quarterback, but coming up in big moments and creating turnovers. That was something I noticed when watching him. He came up and created turnovers, and he always managed to spot the ball and jump on it. He was very, very reactive, and he was all over the place, And he's better against the run than people give him credit for. That was my major thing. I was watching him. He lacked functional strength sometimes against combo blocks, but when you're 20 years old, he's not fully developed yet. The guy's so young. He's still developing his strength, his speed, his pass rush moves. 20 years old, guys. 20 years old. The guy can't even drink alcohol yet. You know what I mean? So when we're looking at a player like Azeez Ojulari, these guys like Leonard Williams, these coaches are going to be able to refine him and make him so much better. And having the live in-person training, having training camp and preseason, and the mentors around him, the coaching staff, Leonard Williams next to him, Dexter Lawrence next to him, who soak up double teams, going to give him that ability to utilize those fresh legs with that excellent bend around the edge. He has a really great, grab and chop move. And I think that he's going to make an impact for us day one. He's not a rotational guy, maybe, as I once thought. And getting him at 50th overall, plus the 3rd-round pick we got to trade back, Joe Judge said it himself. The second that he was there at 50, there were teams calling up to try and get him. So when you consider that fact, I think he might be the steal of the draft. It's hard to, I'm not going to say he is the steal of the draft, but he could be the steal of the draft. And I think the Giants would have walked away with a player at 50 overall that should have probably gone in the 1st round, compared to some of the other guys. Like even Jason Owe went before him, and he has literally no tape to work off of. He's literally pure tangible traits. They drafted him with very minimal physical film to justify taking him there. It was all because of his physical abilities. So you look at Azeez Ojulari, he's got the tape. He's got the production. He was number 1 in SEC in sacks and forced fumbles. The Giants had a ton of SEC coaches. They know what he's like. Andrew Thomas is roommate in college throughout. They're very good friends. Anthony, when you're looking at Azeez Ojulari, what do you think his weaknesses will be day one, and why do you think he will make an impact on this team? Do you think he's instantly the top pass rusher on this unit, aside from, maybe specifically in the outside linebacker core?
I do think that he has the potential to be the top pass rusher in this unit. I think day one he won't be just that instant, 3-down pass rusher that we want him to be. I think that realistically the Giants will work him in like they do with all of their rookies, but I don't think it'll take long for Azeez to establish himself as the best pass rusher and then be placed into the lineup more frequently and be placed in as that 3-down edge rusher like I say he can be, because absolutely he should have went in the 1st round. Alex said maybe he should have been a 1st-round pick. He definitely absolutely should have been a 1st-round pick. If he was drafted by the Giants at 11, I wouldn't have even freaked out about it. If the knee thing never became, a storyline, this random knee injury that he had as a senior in high school that's never bothered him or been a problem before, you have to imagine that might have just been a fabricated story that one of the teams, possibly even the Giants, since they're the one that drafted him, just put out there to get him to fall to the 2nd round. Because that was just crazy, I mean, even after the draft, he said, I had no idea that teams were even going to care about that because that was so long ago and that's never bothered me in my collegiate career. Why would that bother me now? I think that was insane how that just got out there like a few days before the draft, and it just plummeted his draft stock because, Azeez Ojulari has never really had an injury in college. He's always been a healthy guy, and his knee has never caused him grief. So for a high school injury to have him fall all the way to the second round was really, really peculiar and kind of confusing, but I think it was a real blessing in disguise for the Giants and even for Azeez. I think he's going to step into a situation where he's allowed to really be molded into a top-tier pass rusher, and I do think that he has the potential to be the steal of the 2021 NFL Draft. I think that, to me, I had him as a top 15 to 20 talent in the draft. That's what I graded him from. I watched all the film. I broke him down. You can go watch the film breakdown on the YouTube channel. I did that before the draft, so there's not even any bias there. And I talk about what his fit would be with the Giants if they were to draft him and how much I like him as a pass rusher in this scheme. I think that he is a perfect scheme fit for Patrick Graham, and Patrick Graham and Azeez Ojulari have both said that after the fact, that this is a perfect marriage in terms of scheme and player talent. And so I thought he was a 15 to 20 talent. They got him all the way down at 50, and at 15 to 20, that's why I was okay with him at 11. I would have rather trade down to around 20 and then drafted him. Funny thing is, we traded down to around 20, got Kadarius Toney, then traded down in the second round and still got him at 50, which is just a miracle when you really think about it, because there were people who were mock drafting him to the Giants at 11. There was insiders who were doing that in their mock drafts. Azeez, great bend around the edge. You asked me what his weaknesses will be. He does have a slight lack of size, which could create some limitations early on as he just learns the game and learns how to work with that. Because he isn't, a ginormous menacing threat. He doesn't have that ideal body, but it's good enough. He's strong, but he's not the strongest as well. So, plus he also does have some limited experience. He didn't really break out until his final season in college. He was a redshirt sophomore, I believe. So he didn't have all the time in the world to really learn the game. So that lack of experience might just mean that the coaches have to work with him a little bit more, and you might not see him break out until the second half of the season, right? So you just might need him to give him some time to get adjusted. But in terms of him being a pure pass rusher, a pure edge rusher, out of the 2-point stance or even out of the 3-point stance, because he can do both, put his hands in the dirt or stand up off the edge, I mean, this guy is legit. He has excellent bend around the edge. He gets right underneath the table and runs right through it. Like, he is so flexible when he's coming around the edge, and he has a lot of speed, a lot of closing speed as well. There's a play against Mac Jones in Alabama. It was like the first play of the game against Alabama. Mac Jones drops back the pass. Azeez kind of goes unblocked, and he sees Mac going back to throw the ball, and then instantly just accelerates and bursts through, smacks Mac Jones through the back, and then it turns into an interception. And it was just, the closing speed and acceleration was ridiculous. He just bursted, and that's really what Azeez is. Like, he is a speed rusher, but he's got a couple pass rush moves. He does need to add more, absolutely. That's going to be his biggest weakness. He does have a limited array of pass rush moves, but that's why you got good coaching staff around them. That's why you got good players around them that can teach him and help him just get that pass rush moves, get more of them in his arsenal, get some counter moves in his arsenal. He's just got limitless potential. He's so young, 20 years old, inexperienced, but really, really talented. 9.5 sacks in 2020, 35 pressures. Like, this kid's really, really talented, and he's going to make a huge difference on the Giants defense, especially after he has that breakout. I think early on, as a rotational piece, he's really solid. Eventually, he breaks out, and he becomes that every down pass rusher, that starter on the edge, and then I think you're talking about the Giants defense really, really stepping up to the next level and having one of the better pass rushers in the NFL on their roster with Azeez Ojulari.
That's facts. All facts. And, I'll add this. As you mentioned, one of the things, the biggest concerns when it comes to Azeez is his size, right? He's 6'3", 249 pounds. That's one of the biggest things people say about him. Maybe he's undersized. Well, let me debunk that for you. You know who was the same size coming out of college as Azeez Ojulari? Can you guess? No? Von Miller. Same exact size as Azeez Ojulari coming out of college. Of course, Von Miller had more raw attributes, raw talent, was exponentially more refined than Azeez Ojulari, but just because he's that size now does not mean he's not going to add weight. Von Miller added a ton of size later on in his career, but you know what? I think Azeez Ojulari is going to be just fine. Again, it says now, Von Miller, 6'3", 250 pounds. That's essentially what they have him listed as, and is the same size as Azeez Ojulari. The speed, the strength is there. As he gets older, like I said, he gets 20 years old. The one weakness that I see with him is that he's a little bit predictable with his pass rush moves. He doesn't have a vast array. That's what we loved about Jalen Phillips so much. He had so many different pass rush moves. He was so reactive to what the offensive linemen were giving him. He would diagnose what they were doing in such a quick split second, and he was able to react and change his pass rush moves accordingly. Azeez Ojulari doesn't have a vast array, so he kind of goes into it already determined what he's going to do. He's not as reactive as Jalen Phillips was. I'd like him to get a little bit more refined in that area, to add more pass rush moves, develop that side of his game, and really have the ability to process what offensive tackles are giving him and then taking advantage and reacting accordingly. So that's kind of how I see Azeez Ojulari taking that next step forward. If he can do that and accomplish that well, he's going to be a stud. He's going to be a fantastic pass rusher, and I really hope that he's able to take that step. We have the coaching staff to get it done. Now, I want to talk about some other pass rushers at the outside linebacker position specifically. The two that I really want to harp on are Lorenzo Carter and Oshane Ximines. What are their roles moving forward? Are they even starters? Are they rotational guys? Are they going to get buried on this depth chart? I think that the Giants plan to use Ifeadi Odenigbo in a couple different ways, and I think that he could eat into Lorenzo Carter and Oshane Ximines' time. I think that Carter coming back from an Achilles injury, Oshane coming back from a torn labrum, it's going to be really a position battle between those two guys. Those are the guys that, in my opinion, are going to be fighting for playing time on this team. I think Ifeadi is going to play a lot more snaps than we think. The guy has the ability to play outside linebacker. He played 4-eye. We've seen him play interior. He has the strength. He doesn't have a vast array of moves. He's not the fastest guy in the field, but he has very good power and a good transition from power to speed. But I do like what he brings to this team. He's a solid pass rusher. He can expose those gaps. He's a good run defender, and he was the best pass rusher on that Vikings team last year, which was like the worst in the NFL, so he doesn't say much. But he has a ton of potential with good coaching and good players around him. It's going to open up his game exponentially. And I think he's actually going to end up starting opposite Azeez Ojulari for a majority of these games to start the year. I think Oshane Ximines and Lorenzo Carter are going to be the ones competing for more reps. And I think Carter's going to win, actually. I think Lorenzo Carter's going to win that position battle. I think Oshane Ximines might be buried a little bit for a little while. I think he'll be more of a reserve guy. He'll be more of a guy that comes in situational, fatigue-based reasons, comes in and gives a break to the starters. He's still an adequate pass rusher, but you can never have enough depth at outside linebacker. We saw what happened last year. The Giants ranked 12th in sacks last year with 40. That was a miracle. I don't even know how the hell they did that. Like I said, Carter Coughlin, Jabal Shared, how the hell did they manage to pull that off? I have no freaking clue. But they did it, and it was pretty damn impressive. Now you have Azeez, you have Ifeadi, you have Carter, Oshane, Ryan Anderson, just a plethora of options there. Maybe not elite options, but adequate, way better than what we had last year. And I'm excited about that, Anthony. When you look at Lorenzo Carter, Oshane Ximines, Carter actually is a pretty solid run defender, really good at stealing the edge. He needs a little bit of help in the pass rush department, but he had a couple good games. I remember in 2019 against the Patriots, he had 2 sacks against Brady, and he really blew up that game. He made a really big impact, and that was the first time I was like, maybe we got something in Carter. But then he just kind of didn't really, build his momentum up, didn't really come to fruition, and he actually ended up having about the same year as he did in his rookie season, with about 25% more snaps. So that was kind of disappointing. And then obviously last year, the injury, he was coming on. He looked really good in over 4 or 5 games. He had 15 tackles, a sack, a quarterback hits. He was stealing the edge quite effectively. Only a 6.3% missed tackle rate. So I was pretty impressed at what he was accomplishing. He had 7 pressures. But this upcoming year, Anthony, how are you looking at Carter and Oshane Ximines? Do you think Ifeadi will steal a lot of snaps for them, or do you think he'll be more of a sub-package kind of guy playing in the fort, like a 3-point stance, down lineman, playing the run more, maybe third downs, or do you think he'll be an early down guy who they're really utilizing as an outside linebacker?
I like Ifeadi a lot. We spoke to him. He was a really, really great guy, and he was really fun to talk to. Super, super cool guy. But I do think he's a sub-package guy. I think that he's a rotational guy. I don't think that he's their starter unless there's injuries, which, with the Giants, that's very well possible that there could be injuries. Last season, we had a lot of injuries, and I bet the Giants wish they had Ifeadi Odenigbo on their roster last season because he could have made a huge impact as a rotational or as a fill-in pass rusher once Oshane Ximines and Lorenzo Carter both went down with injury. Let's assume that Lorenzo Carter and Oshane Ximines stay healthy this season, right? Let's say they both stay healthy and they're both available for all 17 games. they're going to start. They're going to be the pass rushers on the outside. Lorenzo Carter especially. Carter is a very good player. He's just always got something holding him back, whether he's just not there yet in terms of his size and strength and all that. In like his rookie season, he hasn't had the pass rush moves. He started to add those. He's really getting there. He's not impacting the run game. Okay, well, he really started to last season before he got hurt. Or he's injured. There's something always holding him back. If he could just get everything to put into place for Lorenzo Carter, if we get everything perfect for him, I think that he can be a really, really good player. Not saying he's going to be an elite pass rusher, but he's going to be an above average, solid edge rusher for the Giants. And ultimately, I think that it becomes him and Azeez Ojulari as the starting edge rushers. I do think Azeez takes over where Oshane Ximines is right now, but Oshane is also a very good player. Very, patient pass rusher from a small school who's a good player, showed a lot in his rookie season, kind of took a step back in year 2, then was injured. I think maybe this time that he spent away from the field, just recovering, healing, probably studying the game, could benefit him. Maybe he comes back more refined, smarter, maybe a little bit stronger and faster after he rehabs and then does all of his physical therapy. Maybe it could be a blessing in disguise for Oshane as well. Ultimately, though, I think that Oshane is a great top-tier rotational pass rusher. Third down, you need an extra pass rusher out there? Oshane, go get that sack. Afadio Denimo, third down. We need a rotational pass rusher out there. Go inside or outside, get out there and go get that sack. I think that's what he provides, a lot of versatility. Oshane Ximines is not getting down into a 3 or 4 point stance playing the 3-tech or the 4-eye. Afadio Denimo can do that, though, and he could stand up in that 2-point stance off the edge, which is where he provides a lot of versatility for the Giants defense and allows them to get really creative, because we saw Patrick Graham do a lot of creative things like that last year. We saw Leonard Williams primarily play that 3-tech or that 4-eye, but on third down and pass rushing snaps, they would often move him out to the 5-tech, have him play that edge rushing defensive end with his hand in the dirt. Even occasionally, they'd have him stand up in a 2-point stance. We saw Leonard Williams stand up and be a pass rusher off the edge, the same way that Lorenzo Carter stands up and is a pass rusher off the edge. So I think that's really interesting, but that's not necessarily what you want Leonard Williams doing. I think that on third down, third and long pass rushing, you probably want him attacking the interior, and you want a guy who has the ability to actually pass rush off the edge. We were just short-staffed, so we had to move Leonard Williams around and get creative because he was our best pass rusher. But now that we have guys like Afadi who can move inside and outside, and we have guys like Azeez and Lorenzo coming back and Oshane coming back who can just stand up off the edge and just attack an offensive tackle, play after play after play, that allows Leonard Williams to just really dominate the interior with Dexter Lawrence. They can just get inside and pass rush, and they don't have to worry about being moved around too much, although it does provide some matchup opportunities when we do move them around, and I'm sure that we will. Primarily, what you want is them in the interior taking on the guards, because the guards are the worst athletes on the field. As Afadio Denabo explained to us personally, the guards are the ones that we want to attack, so we want our best interior pass rushers attacking them, and you want your best edge guys just breaking down those offensive tackles all game long. So that's ultimately the flexibility that Afadio Denabo gives us. He can move inside, he can move outside, and then when you have a little chess piece like that you can move it around, you can move around a lot of other guys, but also give them the stability to get comfortable in one spot and just start beating down that same offensive lineman, learning what he likes to do and how to counter all that all game long, and I think that's really great. That's what good depth on a defense gives you. Gives you all those opportunities to put your players in the best position to succeed. Depth, depth, depth. The Giants have made it a point to get depth. Of course, with Ellerson Smith as well, I think that his impact year one is going to be on special teams. That man can block kicks. He blocked 2 of them in his collegiate season, or his collegiate career. But still, that's another guy. You can rotate around, and you just got more depth out there in case there are any more injuries. I really, really hope there aren't. It was really disappointing because Lorenzo Carter was playing at a very high level last season before that injury, and I hope to see him return to the lineup, play at that high level again, and stay healthy, because I think that this defense and this pass rushing unit can be really special if we can get all these guys that I just mentioned to group together, play to their strengths, stay healthy, and then dominate those offensive linemen.
I gotta say, Anthony, you've been dropping some bars lately. You go on these rants, and it's just like blah 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 blah. It's just I can hear the grinds, the gears turning. I can hear them churning up in there.
I know this team like the back of my hand, man. What can I say? I'm grinding out here. I'm studying this team day in and day out, all for our great fans of Fireside Giants, providing you with elite content every single day.
Literally.
Every single day.
That's a fact. I mean, what's at the fireside, always at the fireside, right?
Always.
And I'll tell you what, you really hit it on the head, because this team is going to be a mismatched team. They're gonna find weaknesses in the opponents, and they're going to expose them. They're going to find offensive tackles that are heavy-footed, and they're going to say, Aziz, burn the shit out of that guy off the edge. Go and attack that edge. Hit him around the just long arm him and speed, use that bend around the edge. If he's a heavy-footed guy, that's all you got. Or you can jab outside, dart inside. If you have that speed, you can accomplish these things. And I think the Giants are going to do just that. Ifedi, a guy who is more power-based. If you have an offensive tackle, maybe a little bit undersized, use that power. You know, they have the talent. Last year, they just didn't have the talent. They didn't have the guys who could create and maximize on those mismatches. Now they do. So I'm excited to see how they utilize their talent now to get ahead of the game. And it's going to be really exciting, guys, because this defensive line, rather, is not only composed of now some fresh faces at the outside linebacker position, but when you pair those interior guys with them, it really pans out in tremendous ways. And I think when you're looking at Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, two guys that ranked atop the NFL in double teams that they soaked up, it's going to open up so much opportunity for not only the outside linebackers, for blitzing other linebackers like Blake Martinez, Tate Crowder, Reggie Ragland, all these guys, or TJ Brunson if he sees the field. It's going to open up the field for them. It's going to open up blitz packages for the safeties, Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan, even Xavier McKinney. I want to see him get involved too. And even our cornerbacks, our slot corners off the edge. I would not be surprised to see our aggressive guys like Darnay Holmes and aggressive guys like Aaron Robinson darting into the backfield to go and take down the quarterback. It's going to be fun, man. This defense, adding another layer to what we saw last year, which was already just mind-blowingly creative and exciting, it's going to be sick. I am so hyped to watch this defense. I'm so hyped to see what Patrick Graham lays out, the coaching staff that we built, and how the offense can capitalize off of what we've done. Now, my biggest concern is at nose tackle, right? Danny Shelton can get it done. He's had some injury problems in the past, but he's not Dalvin Tomlinson. I'm going to miss Dalvin, to be honest with you. He losing him is going to feel, we're going to feel that loss at times because he was just such a strong run defender in the middle of the field. I don't think we can necessarily replicate that, but I think this team could be a 50-plus sack team next year. That's how optimistic I am because, like we said before, this was a team, a unit, really. This defense was a unit that got a lot of their sacks from coverage, a lot of coverage sacks. Now, we're going to even have better coverage now with Adoree Jackson and James Bradbury and such a strong cornerback unit and depth there that I think when you have cover one, you're playing cover one, cover zero, we have more blitzers, more opportunities to create sacks. We could be a 50-plus sack team. We could end up ranking in the top 5 in sacks next year, and it's going to create turnovers. It's going to get our offense on the field. It's going to help on third downs. It's going to be tremendous. So as long as we stay healthy, guys, as long as we stay healthy and our coaching staff calls the right plays and gets these guys whipped into shape, I'm excited. And stamina also remains such a big portion of this defense because they go hard. They're balls to the walls. And I think that's such an important part of this team because, last year when Blake Martinez went to go get a tackler or go try to take somebody down, within seconds, his whole team was rallying around him. This team was all over the football field, and that requires discipline and stamina. And Sterling Shepard said it best. Joe Judge is a tough coach, and he was the first guy out of all the coaches he's had with the Giants, including Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur, that really harped on stamina and conditioning. That's such a big thing to me. I think, yes, these guys should be working on stamina and conditioning off the field too. Like, they should be doing it themselves. But having a coach that really hammers that home and says, you got to be ready in the fourth quarter when it's game time. When it's time to make a play, when it's time to give your offense an opportunity, when it's time to shut that team down and you just scored and you got to hold them to a 3 and out, you got to hold them and waste the clock. You got to be ready, and that stamina is so important. And we saw it last year, by the way. That team, while we did lose by a couple of points in a couple games, it was mainly because our offense wasn't adequate, not because the defense failed. You know what I mean? The defense played phenomenal football. They came to play. They showed up in the fourth quarter. Their conditioning was phenomenal. They got better as the season went on. That's all you can ask. And even when they had injuries go down, they still found ways to succeed. And that's what was special to me, Anthony. So, I'll let you wrap up with any last thoughts you have on this outside linebacker unit, any last thoughts you have on this pass rush unit. Let me know, how many sacks do you think this team will have next year, and how do you think it will impact our success?
Realistically, I think that the Giants can achieve a sack total around 45. Okay, they were at, I think, 40 on the dot this past season, and that was with a ton of injuries and a severe lack of talent off the edge. That was all Patrick Graham scheming it together, doing the pass rush by committee, rotating guys in, rotating guys out. that was all Patrick Graham. He really, and honestly, I got to give a lot of credit to the coverage. The coverage unit was really good. There was a lot of coverage sacks out there, but the Giants coverage unit is only going to get better this year. We got a major upgrade at CB2 with Adoree Jackson, and then we also added some really good depth at outside corner with Rodarius, and on the inside with Aaron Robinson, as well as Darnay Holmes going into his second season as a slot cornerback. So coverage is going to be even better, which could make the pass rush even better, while also having better talent as in the group of pass rushers that we have. So Patrick Graham, realistically, I could see him totaling 45 to 50 sacks on this defense. But I also want to just touch on the nose tackle position as well. I think that the loss of Dalvin Tomlinson is going to be felt significantly. I think it's a significant loss for the Giants defense. What he did in the running game was really special. He was as consistent as possible, never missed tackles, just filled up gaps and really allowed guys like Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence to have some single team, some one-on-one blocks, beat those and be good pass rushers. Dalvin Tomlinson did a lot for the Giants interior defensive line. But I will say this. I think now the Giants have a lot more depth and have a lot more room for creativity on those third downs. You can put Leonard Williams over the center. You can have Dexter here. You can have Afadi here. And then on the edges, you can have, you can play a 5-down lineman if you want. Now that you just have all this talent, you can have Azeez and you can have Lorenzo on the edges, right? So you can really get creative. And I think, the loss of Dalvin is going to be huge. But Danny Shelton's a capable replacement. He's not elite. I think Dalvin was honestly borderline an elite zero tech. But Danny Shelton's not that, but he is above average. He's a good player. Austin Johnson is also a decent player. He played pretty good for us in limited snaps. And then I just think Giants are going to get creative with what they do there. You got really good interior defensive linemen. You got good 4 eyes who can move over to the zero if they need to, like Leonard Williams, like Dexter Lawrence as well. Just move those guys around. I think that the Giants are going to be able to supplement that loss pretty easily, despite it being a pretty significant loss. I really trust in Patrick Graham to get the most out of all of these players that he has on the roster, really move them around and put them in the position to succeed, as I've been saying all episode long. So, Patrick Graham, we trust. That's who we trust right now. And Joe Judge and Patrick Graham and this coaching staff, we trust, at least defensively. Don't know how much I trust the offensive one yet. I like the moves they made, like the changes, but I need to see it get onto the field first and see how they really do before I actually praise them too much. But the defensive one, we saw them do a lot of great things last year. They've really proven themselves already. I'm just excited to see them take that next step. Second year with Joe Judge, second year with Patrick Graham. I think that this defense could be a top 5 unit in the NFL, and honestly, that's my expectation. Not only what I think, but I really expect them to be. With how much talent they had last year, how good they were last year, plus all the talent incoming, I really expect this to be a top 5 unit if they could stay healthy, and I can't wait to see that, because the last time the Giants had a top 5 unit, pretty sure they made the playoffs in 2016, so hopefully we can do that again in 2021.
100%, man. I think you hit it on the head, my friends. So, hope you're having an awesome weekend. Beautiful weather on Saturday, 90 degrees in New York City. If you're in Florida, probably humid, as it always is. But, my friends, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you're a Knicks fan, enjoy that playoff game on Sunday night. I'm hyped. I'm super excited to watch that game. I know the Nets are also in the postseason. If you're a Nets fan, enjoy that. Yankees, absolutely killing it. Their starting pitchers have gone, 30 innings straight without letting up a run. Corey Kluber, no-hitter. They've let up, 1 run in their last 4 games. So if you're a Yankees fan, you're probably happy. Mets are also doing pretty well. So New York sports right now, we're thriving. We're all in the post, except for the Rangers. I mean, they're not in the postseason, but the Islanders won on Saturday. So we're thriving. We're kind of entering this golden age of sports, and Boston's kind of slowly falling into the back mirror, and it's beautiful. It's about time. We've been suffering long enough, my friends. We've been suffering long enough, and I hopefully will get some good postseason wins for our New York teams this weekend. And I hope you enjoy the rest of it, my friends. Once at the Fireside, always at the Fireside. Make sure to subscribe below on YouTube. Notifications on Apple and Spotify. Ring that bell for notifications on YouTube as well. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you guys on the next video.